What's going on, YouTube? And welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Eric Wilson, today joined by my co-host, Collin Alcabes, and the newest member of the Fireside Rangers team, Will. We're here just one day away from opening night. The Rangers will begin the regular season tomorrow against the Buffalo Sabres. And the big thing heading into the season is, can the Rangers redeem themselves from a disappointing end last year? And there are a couple of players that are really going to need to perform. The biggest one, in my opinion, Kaapo Kakko. He's getting an opportunity to play on the first line to start the season. Hasn't really received that opportunity at all throughout his career thus far. But before we get into things, Collin, how are you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. After watching some hockey last night, it feels good to have it back. I got my jerseys on. I got it all ready to go for tomorrow night. I got my plans. I'm ready to watch. I'm excited.
I know it's a very exciting time. It's been a very, very long off season, and we're all looking forward to it. Will, how excited are you for this upcoming season?
After a grueling offseason that felt like it was years, hockey coming back yesterday was awesome. It got me fired up, even though the Rangers weren't playing. So excited for hockey season to be back.
Of course, hockey's hockey, and we're going to be covering it over here at Fireside Rangers. So before we get into the video, make sure you like, subscribe, leave your comments, leave your thoughts on the topic below down in the comments. Make sure you check out all of our social media accounts at Fireside Rangers on both Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. But let's get right into it. Kaapo Kakko, he's had a little bit of a hard time developing throughout his career, coming into the league with a head coach who really didn't give him a lot of playing time, kind of buried down in the bottom six. He's finally getting that opportunity up there on the first line, which projected so far is Kreider, Zibanejad, Kakko. So just looking at that line right there, Collin, what kind of expectations do you have for them as a trio? Do you think it's going to stay together for a long time, or are those pieces that could be moved around?
I think it's going to be an extremely strong line. I think if you look back to the few times that Gerard Gallant put them together very sparingly, because he didn't like to stick with anything except for the lines that he already had. I think they look great together. I think their goals for was way higher than their goals against. I think they were driving offense at all times. And I think, as we've discussed many times, I think Kakko just had bad puck luck. I mean, I think if you look at his shooting percentage from last season in the limited time that he was on that line, he was shooting, I think it was a 14%. Which is higher than the team average. So if he just put more shots on net, who knows? Maybe he's getting some more goals. Got to get a little more greedy. But I'm excited to see how he plays with the skill makers of Zibanejad and Kreider, who just are offensive powerhouses on that first line.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Kreider and Zibanejad have been playing together for the last couple of seasons. They have developed some pretty great chemistry. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kakko kind of fits in with a duo that's been together for so long. But Will, I'm curious to know, what are your expectations for this line? Do you think Kakko is going to fit in nicely with their style of play? Or do you think there is a different player who might have been a better fit?
I think Kakko is going to fit really well with them. Last year, in the short time he played with them, as we know, Collin said that Gallant didn't like to stick with that. They were the best team Rangers line at 5v5. I mean, way better than any other line. It was nuts that Gallant didn't keep them together longer than he did. But I think Kakko's play style fits Mika and Kreider very well. As we know, Kreider is a net front presence, and if Kakko just shoots the puck more, deflects off Kreider. He's also a playmaker, sets up Zibanejad because we know he's a shooter. So I think Kakko fits that line very well, and I think they're going to have a very, very early success to this season.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Kakko, I think, is one of the better playmakers currently on the Rangers. He's such a large player, very strong. It's like when Kakko enters the zone with the puck, you can tell it takes like three defenders to really just get it away from him. So I just kind of like the dynamic, like you mentioned, like Kreider in front of the net there for the deflections, Zibanejad waiting for the shot coming off a Kakko pass. I think it's a recipe for success that the Rangers have put together. And I think all of us are in agreement. Kakko is on the verge of a breakout season. He's had a lot of bad puck luck throughout his career so far, but it's good to see that he's pretty confident in his game heading into this season. I got a quote here that Vince Mercogliano picked up that Kakko said. He said, "I've played many games in this league already, so it feels easier. You know what to expect, you know how it feels, and you know what's going to happen. The season is going to be a lot of games, but I'm ready for that." So based on what Kakko said right there, he's eager, he's excited, and he's confident. So Collin, I'm curious to know what are your thoughts on that quote, any takeaways you have from it, and just Kakko's just eagerness to really hit the ice running.
I think he says it with conviction. I think he's not just saying it to please the media and the presses. I think he's saying it because he means it. I mean, if you look at his progression from the year he first joined the league to now, obviously he hasn't made the jump to superstardom that we all would have loved to have seen, but he's made major strides. His first year, he was one of the worst defensive forwards in the entire league, and he's turned it around entirely and become one of the better forwards. I think he was top 10, not this past season, but the season before in defensive metrics. He's really turned his play around in his own zone. So even if he's not contributing offensively, he isn't a liability out there. But I think the points will start to come. I think he's a big body guy. I mean, he's massive, and he was almost taking over Jack Hughes for that exact reason, for being NHL ready. Like his size he was ready to jump right in. Obviously, his play didn't translate, but he's got the size and the speed, and now he has the ability. I mean, we've seen it in the preseason. We saw it last season. He has a little bit more heads up, better body positioning, winning those battles on the boards. He's just playing with more confidence overall. And I think it's all just coming together, and it's going to be a great recipe for success for Kakko this season.
Yeah, I mean, confidence is key. And he did have a little bit of a rough transitioning time, coming over from European ice. It's a lot different in the NHL. It's faster paced, it's harder hitting, the rink size is different. So, Will, I'm just curious to know, like, with the whole transitioning from Kakko, do you think he's fully ready to take on the NHL? We know that he's confident, we know he's ready, but do you think that he's ready?
Yeah, I do think he's ready, and I think most Ranger fans and most Ranger writers think that he's going to be the breakout star this year. Or not star, but breakout player, and I think so too. Like Collin said, since he's come into the NHL, every single year he's gotten better. Like he said, his first year he was one of the worst defensive forwards, and his play along the board sucked. I mean, he could not keep the puck on his stick for anything, and now we see him. He's a puck possession monster. It takes about 3 guys to knock him off the puck. It's like you're watching Prime Yager when he has the puck on his stick. It's insane. He has a puck on a string. And then mix in that, it seems like he's shooting last season. It seemed like he was shooting the puck a lot more at the end of the year. I mean, he had a career high in goals, career high in assists, career high in points. I mean, he's ready to make that jump into maybe not what we thought he was going to be, but what we think he's going to be now, which should be 60-point player.
You made a very bold comparison there, comparing him to a young Yager. I really hope that you're correct in that prediction. But no, you're right. Last season, he did have a career high with 40 points throughout the season, which, it's a decent stat line. 40 points is nothing to be ashamed about. But for a second overall pick, you would expect that at this point in his career, he'd be reaching a little more. So I really hope that we're right, that he is going to have a breakout season. I think you just combine his time in the NHL with his confidence, and then now the fact that he's going to be playing alongside 2 of the Rangers' best goal scorers, we're going to definitely see an inflation in these points. I think it's almost guaranteed, knock on wood, that he's going to see another increase in career high points. So I don't know, just if he's going to play on that first line for pretty much the entire season, I could see him reaching maybe even like 60 points. And, he had 18 goals, maybe even make a push for 30. So that's my bold prediction for this. But Collin, just heading into the season, what are your predictions for Kakko on this first line? How much of a breakout is this going to be?
I think you can look at Kakko and expect upwards of 20 to even 25 goals. I think he's going to start potting them. I think he's got better playmakers on his wings, on his flanks now. So I think it'll be a lot easier for him to put the puck in the net, because the defenders will be focused on guys like Kreider, who scored 50, on guys like Mika, who annually put up 90-plus points. So I think it'll also open up the ice for him, but I think the better that he plays, it'll open up the ice for the other guys. I think it's a win-win all the way around, allowing him to use his big body in one-on-one battles. He's a little bit of a hybrid of both of them. He can play in front of the net. He's gritty. He's not afraid to get in the dirty areas, but he also has the skill to make men miss and make moves to the net. And I think as you've seen, as he's continued to gain confidence, he's continued to do that. I remember last preseason, he had a fantastic goal against the Minnesota Wild, and it had you and me buzzing, and we were hoping for that last season. And while it might not have come, the way that the players develop isn't a straight line. We've mentioned it a million times. And while it might not be the jump from zero to hero that we've all wanted, or superstardom right into the league, you can look at guys like Nathan McKinnon and Jonathan Huberdeau and Alexander Barkov, who have been a little bit of a slower burn, who have not jumped onto the scene like the Connor McDavids and Austin Matthews and Jack Eichels. But, now, I mean, who all those guys are. They have entrenched themselves in the league as superstars. And I think that Kakko has the ability to do just that. And I think he will make that jump this season to a household name and on his way to a superstar.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to remember, like, not everyone's like Jesus on ice, like McDavid was, and Rangers fans have been a little critical of Kakko just because of like the weight and the pressure that comes with being a second overall draft pick. But it seems like he's getting there, and we're really hoping for a big season coming up. So, Will, just like, what are your predictions for Kakko? How big of a breakout do you think? Do you think he's gonna set another career high in points and goals?
I think he sets a career high in points, assists, and goals again. Like Collin said, it's not your development's not always a straight line. Guys take longer in the NHL. It doesn't matter what the scouts say or what the draft analyst is. Like, yeah, he was NHL ready and they thought all of his game was, but it's not always going to transition in a smooth line. Like Nathan McKinnon. I mean, I think he broke out the 2019-20 season and then he took off after that. It's not always going to be like the Connor McDavid's. And like you said, Eric, a lot of these Ranger fans were expecting him to be like Connor McDavid. Well, sucks to suck. It's not always like that. I mean, he was also generational coming out of what was it, the OHL? So I mean, completely different with him and Kakko. But I have him going for 25 goals, 40 assists, and 65 points. Now, I think that can be hit if he stays with Mika and Kreider the entire year. But I mean, as we saw, I think he can also produce on any line he's on. I mean, he did it with Lafreniere and Hedel last year. So I think he'll hit 65 no matter what. But it's a little bit of a bold take. That's a 25-point increase. But I think his breakout's going to be huge this year. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. He is one of the keys to the Rangers winning a Stanley Cup this year and in the next couple of years. I mean, if he really turns out, or doesn't even have to turn out like the player he was supposed to be, if he puts up like 65 points every year from now on, I think the Rangers are going to be set with the future of the kids.
I mean, that's the dream, We have all these pieces put in place. Now we just got to really see him get to work. Kakko, he's only 22 years old, so cut the kid some slack. He's the same age as me. I can never see myself playing in the NHL right now. But here we'll make sure to cover everything about Kakko and the Rangers this upcoming season. We'll be following this breakout very closely as he is one of my favorite players on the Rangers. But until then, make sure you like, subscribe, leave your thoughts on Kakko down in the comments below. Do you think he's going to have a breakout season? And if so, how big of a breakout season will we see? Opening night is tomorrow, so we will be back with more Rangers news very, very soon. And until next time, have a good one, and let's go
Rangers.
Let's go Rangers.